Hi, Dawn Finn here again. Let's talk about step 8. And step 8 and 9 kind of play together because they're really about relationships. But according to step 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. So this is a large order. And we've talked about so many times of being ready. This is one of those moments that I'm making a list of people I have harmed. So now I've come through, I've cleansed my house, and now I'm going to say and ask for forgiveness. Most of the time we talk about not living in the past, and you shouldn't. But I do know that for us, our minds obsess, or we'll be in a situation and something will come up and it's going to be a trigger. It could be a relapse. But if we start and we make this list, and I got to tell you, this list I've done several times. Step 10 leads into continued. And so we'll talk about that when we get there. But step 8 is just making that list. It's making that list of those relationships that are important enough to me to want to mend, that are important enough for me to say, hey, I fucked up. My bad. How can I help? Let me tell you what I'm sorry for. How can I show you? And of course, continued sobriety is one of the biggest things that you can do. Changed behavior. Again, this step isn't all that difficult, but many don't complete it because it's our ego. It is an ego busting. What happens is we want to think that we're perfect. We want to think that we're okay, even though we know that we're not in our heart of hearts. So how can I share that with somebody else? I so wanted my mom's forgiveness. I so wanted my mom's approval. You know, I'm 25 years sober. I still don't have my mother's approval. The best thing about that is today I don't need it. But that's the growth. And I still had to be responsible for me, for my actions. I had people along the way that went with me while I made amends to people. And that's in step 9. So, you know what? Let's talk about it because they're really kind of hard to separate, aren't they? So 1 is making that list, and then step 9 is making direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Good judgment and a careful sense of timing, definitely courage, and prudence. These are the qualities we shall need when we take step 9. So I'm going to continue reading because this is, I think, really important. After we made the list of people we had harmed and have reflected carefully upon each instance and have tried to possess ourselves at the right attitude in which to proceed, we will see that the making of direct amends divides those we should approach and those we shouldn't. There will be those who ought to be dealt with just as soon as we become ready, confident. Those that we should because we need to maintain our sobriety. Then there are those whom only partial restitution may be needed. And let's talk about those that could harm. If it could cause emotional damage to the person that you're apologizing or somebody around them, or even somebody around you by sharing this, that is something that you should be able to talk to somebody else with. If we're going to do additional harm to another human being, that is not an amend. That is making a bigger problem. We become a little sticklers with this honesty program, and it does need to be honest. But there are times that sharing the amends portion will do more harm to those that we are trying to make amends to. That's where, speaking to a priest, a pastor, somebody who you can share this with and let it go. There are different places. I actually went to a camp for the first time, and that was what we did. We were there for 3 or 4 days, 4 days, and we cleaned house. And I wrote the list down, and then I was able to share. I actually shared my defects with the pastor that came in. There were several people, and at the end of that, we burnt those papers. And then I was able to really make amends. I was able to really clean my house. I love this part. I don't need their forgiveness. What I truly need is to forgive myself. And I need to be careful of my relapse, of having triggers that would make me go back. Now, being a survivor of sexual abuse, I'm not going to go to the abuser, to the perpetrator, and in my case, he's gone, but I'm not going to ask him for forgiveness. You know, I'm not going to go there. That's not the amend we're talking. That would do me more harm. That would do my family more harm. I'm talking those relationships that we really want to work towards. Those relationships that are a part of our recovery. You know, our parents, our siblings, children, and spouses, partners. Those are the people who are going to continue to support us and help us get going. Those are the important amends. And you can rate your own. Hands down. 8, I'm just making a list and I'm becoming willing. 9, now I've decided who gets the amends first. And then if I happen to run into somebody, I make an amends. That's the second list. I love this part because sometimes God, the universe, whoever your higher power is, will put things on your heart and on your mind, and then those people show up and you have the opportunity to clean house. This is just a choice to listen. This journey and these steps, and I've said this the whole time, they're not easy, but they make life easier. With that, look for me in step 10. Thanks, everybody.